What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Dan Hooker reacts to Justin Gaethje fight rumors. In recent months, there's been a lot of speculation that Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje could throw hands for a third time. But now, the MMA world is also buzzing that Gaethje and Dan Hooker could battle next, and the Hangman isn't shooting down the rumor. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Gaethje hasn't been booked for a fight since he was taken out by Max Holloway in electrifying fashion at UFC 300 this past April. Because Poirier has signaled that he's going to fight one more time and then hang up the gloves, he and Gaethje have fielded questions about the possibility of a rubber match. But more recently, Renato Moicano reported he's hearing the UFC is targeting a scrap between Gaethje and Hooker. Other outlets like MMA Mania have confirmed that the promotion is looking at booking Gaethje vs. Hooker for UFC 313 on March 8th. Well, Hooker was a guest on a recent episode of Submission Radio, and when he was asked about the Gaethje rumors, the lightweight said this: "We will have to wait until it'll get a little bit closer. You know what I mean? You know how these things work? Fights don't really get made when they're far out." So given how ridiculously entertaining both of these fighters are, it goes without saying this would be a must-see scrap. It would also have significant title shot implications, as Gaethje is ranked number 3 and Hooker's number 6. Given that Hooker's won 3 in a row, if he did take out Gaethje, he very well could be knocking on the title shot door. If this fight is a go, then it'll be really interesting to see who the UFC taps to fight Poirier. Could it be the long-discussed bout with Nate Diaz, a rematch with Max Holloway, or could it even be a fourth fight with Conor McGregor? What do you think? And who do you think would win between Hooker and Gaethje? Alex Pereira teases huge news. Alex Pereira has been making headlines throughout all of 2024, and with the new year fast approaching, Poatan is generating a ton of hype regarding his next fight, even though who that fight will be against has yet to be announced. Ever since Pereira took out Khalil Roundtree at UFC 307 in October, fans and pundits have been discussing who the light heavyweight champion will battle next. John Jones spiked that speculation through the roof after relaying he's interested in fighting Poatan. But since Dana White has made it crystal clear that he wants Bones to fight Tom Aspinall and not Pereira, buzz about that matchup had dropped off. So given that Magomed Ankalaev has been on an incredible run, and because he's ranked number 1 in the light heavyweight division, most were expecting Poatan to battle the surging fighter next. But earlier this week, Pereira dropped jaws by claiming via social media that his next opponent will not be Ankalaev. Since then, Pereira has further bumped all the speculation about his next fight with another social media post. In a video clip the feared striker shared out, he reported he and his manager recently met with UFC brass. Further, the Amazonian star said this: "I'm really happy with this meeting. Check out the size of my smile. Should I tell them or not? We'll wait a little longer." So what could all this mean? That's the big question. In recent days, a rumor has been firing around the internet that Khamzat Chimaev could be moving up to 205 pounds to fight Pereira, but that seems kind of unlikely, given that Chimaev has been fighting at middleweight and has not defeated any light heavyweights in the octagon. Pereira's recent comments have also spiked talk that maybe the UFC is looking at having him fight John Jones. But again, given White's comments about that fight and his insistence that the UFC will get Jones versus Aspinall done, it seems unlikely. Could the UFC be looking at having Adesanya moving up to 205 to fight Pereira in an MMA rubber match? What do you think Pereira's big news is? Israel Adesanya wanted to fight Khamzat Chimaev. Israel Adesanya has signed the dotted line to throw down with Nasruddin Imavov on February 1st, but recently, the last stylebender acknowledged he wants to cross paths with Khamzat Chimaev. Recently, it was announced that Adesanya will battle Imavov at the UFC's next card in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Since that fight was announced, an interview with the last stylebender went up on his YouTube channel. During the interview, Adesanya reported that after he watched Chimaev storm through Robert Whittaker at UFC 308, he shifted his sights to the undefeated fighter.
I was surprised the way Khamzat ran through Rob. That was crazy. That was like, wow. That made me want to fight him. I was like, okay, this guy's actually really, really good.
Chimaev is really good, and if Adesanya can put together another title run, we could very well see him face Boers at some juncture. Imavov may not have the same level of hype that Chimaev has, but the Dagestani fighter has won 3 and is coming off a pivotal win over Brendan Allen. Since Izzy is ranked number 2 and Imavov is number 5, the fight's announcement didn't come as a shocker necessarily, but it was a bit odd to hear Adesanya is fighting in a non-title fight, since that hasn't happened since 2019. While talking about how the bout came together, Adesanya also acknowledged that he was looking at Caio Borralho as a possible opponent.
Nah, that was the only name that got offered, but Caio Borralho, he was looking for a fight as well, and yeah, if they offered him, it would have been like, yeah, sweet. But then when he responded when I posted or announced the fight, and I was like, bro, I already told you when it's you and me, it'll be for the belt, it'll be for the throne. So I respect a guy who just wants to be strictly business. It's like, I understand that, what do I call it, Goku spirit. It's like, oh, you fight? How good are you? All right, bet, let's see. Yeah, so I respect that. But the MMA fight came about, and yeah, we're here.
If you're wondering, Borralho is currently sitting in the number 6 ranking in 205, and on account of his near decade-long winning streak, the Brazilian could also be a key win away from fighting for the title. Could we see Borralho fight Adesanya next if they both win their next bouts? It certainly seems like a possibility, yeah? Up next, Daniel Cormier exposed for lying about Islam Makhachev. While heaping praise on the abilities of Islam Makhachev, Daniel Cormier has told folks that the lightweight king tapped Luke Rockhold when they rolled. But according to the former UFC middleweight champ, DC is full of it. Both Rockhold and Cormier have trained with Makhachev regularly over the years on account of Khabib Nurmagomedov's connection with the American Kickboxing Academy. As Khabib continued to train at the famous San Jose gym when he was in the US, he brought over his teammates from Dagestan as well. Rockhold was recently a guest on the Jackson podcast, and while talking about Makhachev and his ground game, the decorated fighter said this: "I'm just saying I've rolled with Islam a lot. He's very good. I roll with the other like foe. I don't think it would be as hard. I'm just saying." That prompted Rampage Jackson to flat out ask Rockhold if Islam has ever submitted him, and he denied that ever happened. "No, he's never submitted me. I love the guy. He's dangerous. He's hard as hell. Him and Khabib." Daniel Cormier is the biggest liar. How do you think he makes such good TV? He just lies his way through TV. One thing Daniel would always say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. There you have it. What do you think? Do you think Makhachev has tapped Rockhold out when they've rolled, even though Rockhold is a lot bigger and also a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And if so, should Rockhold just admit it? And if Makhachev didn't submit Rockhold, why would Cormier lie about it? Up next, Cory Sandhagen sends a warning to Merab Dvalishvili. Umar Nurmagomedov is a considerable favorite on the betting lines to end the reign of Merab Dvalishvili at UFC 311, and it sounds like Cory Sandhagen understands why. Nurmagomedov has been booked to fight the new bantamweight champion at the January 18th card, after going 6-0 to date in the octagon. In the Dagestani fighter's last outing, he got a decision victory over longtime contender Sandhagen. Well, recently, the Sandman spoke with Middle Easy, and not surprisingly, he was asked to weigh in on the upcoming title fight. Sandhagen outlined why he thinks Nurmagomedov will hear and new at UFC 311. "I think that Umar probably will win. I just can't really see a path for Merab to win. I don't think that he's going to be able to strike with him, but I also don't think that he'll be able to take him down and control time him like he was able to do against O'Malley and against other guys. I just don't really see a path to success for Merab. I think Umar is likely going to defend a lot of those shots, keep it in the striking realm, and just kind of, Umar's a sniper, man." During the interview, Sandhagen also relayed that he hasn't cared for how Merab has spun Nurmagomedov's win over him. "Merab's been talking a little bit of and I kind of want to watch him get served up a little bit by a guy who was supposed to be a wrestler but wasn't able to wrestle me. But Merab is still saying that I was a gift and stuff for Umar, so now I'm on Team Umar." Hard to argue with Sandhagen here. While he was outscored by Umar in their fight and did get taken down, he did squash 8 of those takedown attempts. Also, Sandhagen's losses have come against the best of the best at 135, so you could argue that the Sandman is one of the toughest outs in the division. UFC fight updates. Okay, now let's take a look at some recent UFC matchmaking. While it remains to be seen who Ilia Topuria fights next, it looks like the featherweight champ's older brother, Alexander, has his octagon debut set. Australian MMA is reporting that Topuria will battle that nation's Cody Haddon at UFC 312, which is going down on February 9th in Perth. Alexander Topuria signed with the UFC earlier this year, after going 5-1 so far in pro MMA. Topuria is 1 year older than his 27-year-old rising superstar bro, Ilia. Haddon, meanwhile, is coming off a decision victory over Dan Argueta in what was his octagon debut this past October. Haddon made his way to the UFC via Dana White's Contender Series. It's being reported by Real Kevin K that welterweights Danny Barlow and Sam Patterson will battle it out at the UFC's March 1st Vegas Fight Night card. Barlow is coming off a split decision win over Nikolai Veretennikov this past August, and he's now gone 2-0. Since earning a contract via Dana White's Contender Series. Patterson, meanwhile, submitted Kiefer Crosby in his last outing, which went down in July. Patterson has gone 2-1 in the octagon after graduating from Dana White's Contender Series. And following Manel Kape's memorable stoppage victory over Bruno Silva earlier this month, the dangerous flyweight pushed Dana White hard for a title shot. The UFC bossman said that would not happen yet, and it looks like that is indeed going to be the case. AG Fight is reporting that Kape is going to throw down with fellow contender Brandon Royval in the main event of the UFC's March 1st Fight Night card. Royval is coming off back-to-back split decision victories over Brandon Moreno and Tatsuro Taira, following his decision loss to the champion Alexandre Pantoja last December. Kape, on the other hand, dropped a decision loss to Muhammad Mokaev in his bout prior to the Silva win. Kape versus Royval is a fight that's almost 100% guaranteed to deliver. Caio Borralho interested in moving up weight divisions. Earlier, we talked about Caio Borralho and his wish to battle Israel Adesanya before word came out that Izzy is fighting Nasruddin Imavov next. Well, it's not entirely clear if that's why Borralho recently announced he's thinking about moving back up to 205, but one would think that it could be a factor. Recently, the Brazilian middleweight contender posted the following. It seems that the middleweight division is too messy right now. What'd you guys think about going up to light heavyweight and face a top 15 guy? Given the run that Borralho has been on in the middleweight division, and because he's ranked number 6, hopefully the UFC finds him a fight soon. When Borralho fought on Dana White's Contender Series, he did so at light heavyweight, but the UFC may want him to have him remain in the mix at 185. What do you think? Should Borralho move up to 205 and stay active? And who of the top 15 ranked light heavyweights would you like to see him battle? Michael Chandler calls out Conor McGregor after a recent tweet Conor tweeted, "I pray for peace in the world and war in the ring." Chandler responded with, "Ring, cage, mat, canvas, whatever you want to call it, all you have to do is step up, Conor McGregor." Fans were quick to go after Chandler, with many people calling him obsessed with McGregor, and one fan even created a UFC fight poster of them two in their 70s. Do you think this fight will ever happen? Let us know in the comment section below. Mike Tyson is allegedly getting sued for $1.5 million after breaking a contract violation during the Jake Paul fight. It was reported that Mike Tyson was supposed to promote a gambling company, but Tyson breached his contract. Mediae is a company that promotes the online casino and betting company Rabona. They filed a lawsuit against Mike Tyson and his company, Tyrannic, by backing out of the deal, which was agreed in January. Allegedly, Tyson terminated their deal the same day the Jake Paul fight was announced. Mediae lawyers are saying that it's not his actions that resulted in the lawsuit, but the fact that they lost 1.4 million euros with Mike Tyson backing out. A Mediae lawyer made the following statement. The true reason for Mr. Tyson and Tyrannic's hasty and unlawful termination was because Mr. Tyson had agreed a deal, sponsored by Netflix, to fight the influencer Jake Paul. Mike Tyson has yet to react to the lawsuit. Top comments. Ankalaev deserves the next fight. Why even bring up Khamzat? I'm not even an Ankalaev fan. What the F is wrong with the UFC right now? Poatan versus Ankalaev and Jones versus Aspinall. Make it happen. Chimaev versus Pereira is beyond stupid. Chimaev has an impending title fight in his own division, and Ankalaev is well beyond deserving of whoever the 205 champ is when he's ready. I mean, even though Pereira should be facing Ankalaev, I get way more pumped to see Alex versus Khamzat than Jones or Aspinall. Sean O'Malley off social media? Thank God. Usman is pretty much retired. He joined Henry in the maybe we'll fight if you give us a paycheck, but don't expect we'll win club.